Just when they thought I was out, they pull me back in.
Man, I genuinely thought I was done with all this. I really thought the railway combo was going to be my last combo ever. The last combo that I would have to analyze. After the railway combo, I did the Dante guide, and I started focusing on Storm again and stuff like that, but... well, you guys already know that I have this mission, I had this mission to replicate just about every cool Doppelganger setup that I see online. And I've seen so many different Vergil combos by different advanced players, and I thought that I replicated all of the coolest ones. I was like, okay, there is like one more, but I was like, it's not really all that, so I don't really care. So, yeah, there are, of course, a lot of other cool Doppelganger setups, but the ones that I replicated were all my favorite ones, the ones that I felt were worth replicating. And I thought it was over. I thought it was done with the railway combo. And this is the 9th time that I'm changing my mind. The night combo back in October 2022 was my last combo. Then 2 years later, I did the torment combo, then the hell combo, then the water combo. Then I remastered the moist combo, the Tetsuzanko, created the red combo, urban combo, wreckage combo. Then I did the railway combo. So I just kept one-upping myself, and I thought it was never going to end. But luckily, I ended up in a spot where I was completely satisfied. I seriously believe that I would never see another cool Doppelganger setup that would be so cool it would immediately galvanize me into replicating it. You know, I was like, there's just no way. But V Gaming and Byanyuan Akuma proved me wrong. Now, V Gaming is a very dedicated Vergil player. He makes a lot of combos, and it's the same with Byanyuan Akuma. He's kind of like a legend in the DMC community. A really, really amazing advanced Vergil player. So there was this collaboration that V Gaming did. You know, it's like a combo mad. And I actually had some combos. I was a part of this collaboration. And the thing is, I saw a combo in that collab, in that combo mad, and I was like, whoa, this is incredibly cool. And it was a setup that V Gaming used in one of his combos, and he used this setup like 5 times for like 5 different combos. And I was like, I think I could replicate this. This looks incredibly cool. But it's just one setup. You know, I'm too lazy. I don't know what I could add to this. But then the next combo in the combo video was by Byanyuan Akuma, and it had this really cool Doppelganger setup. And I was like, I think I could easily replicate these two, and I could just fuse them into one combo. And that's what I ended up doing. I don't know, man. I'm just... I don't know. So, I really hate analyzing combos. It's incredibly tedious. It's incredibly laborious. Not to mention it's not rewarding at all. It's incredibly niche, and nobody really cares. I pour hours and days and weeks and months of my life into this, and it's not really something that anyone really cares about. Even my Dante guide that took months of my life and is like 6 hours long, it has like 2,000 views. But like I said, like I keep saying, I don't really do this for views. I do this for the people that want to learn how to play Vergil and want to replicate some advanced combos, and I just want to help them and make them see, you know, I want them to know what to look out for, what mistakes they can make. So, like I said, the first half of this combo, like the first setup, is by V Gaming, and the second part, like the second half of the combo, is by Byanyuan Akuma. With that being said, let's start analyzing this combo. Now, one thing that I would encourage you to do is, if you want to build up speed and muscle memory, try to practice this combo without the Doppelganger at first. So just use Vergil in his base form, no SDT, no nothing, and just use all the necessary weapons, all the necessary moves, and make sure you get the weapon swapping down, because that's going to be kind of important. Once you've mastered that, it'll be very, very easy to just transfer that knowledge into the actual combo for when you use the Doppelganger. But you know, whatever. So basically you can practice like this, alright? So you lock on and you use Rising Star, which is right plus holding the attack button. After using Rising Star, you press the attack button 2 times to use the first 2 hits of Yamato Aerial Rave. So after Rising Star, you use the first 2 hits of Aerial Rave. Now you switch to the Mirage Edge and you use Helm Breaker, which is just pressing the attack button, and you immediately jump, you press space in my case, so you enemy step, and now you press right plus attack button to use Air Stinger with the Mirage Edge, alright? Now you let go of the lock-on, and you switch to Beowulf, and you press right plus attack button to use this reverse starfall. After this, after you hit the ground, you lock on again, you switch to the Yamato, and you use Void Slash, which is back plus forward plus attack button. And this is how you can practice this combo without the Doppelganger. It will help you learn the commands, it'll help you, you know, understand how to weapon switch, how to weapons. It's really not that difficult if you're a seasoned Vergil player, but if you don't have a lot of experience with DMC and with advanced Vergil combos, this would be a great way to build up speed. So that's just my advice to you. Alright, so just do that. In this combo, you'll notice how I use upper slash 1, and then I use this perfect judgment cut, then I use void slash, and then I use trig down. You don't have to use any of this. I'm not even joking. You do not need this at all. As a matter of fact, this can cause problems later on in the combo. So what you could simply, like, the best thing you could do is just summon the haste version of the Doppelganger and start the combo from there. You don't need that upper slash judgment cut void slash trig down bit. Like, you don't need that at all. But if you want me to explain it, it's very simple. Upper slash 1 is, when you're on the left side, it is left plus attack button, and you don't hold the attack button. So left plus attack button, and then you let go of the attack button, and you immediately press it again, and you hold it, and then you release it again after holding it, but you gotta know exactly when, so that you can use that perfect judgment cut, right? After this, you wait just a little bit, and you use Void Slash to trap the enemy in the air. Immediately after this, you use Trig down to gain some distance, and you summon the haste version of the Doppelganger, okay? Like I said, you don't need any of this. So, the real analysis of this combo starts right now. So you need to be in your Sin Double Trigger form, and now you summon the haste version of the Doppelganger, the one who is in sync with you and mimics your commands immediately. But here's the thing, as is the case with a lot of my combos, the thing you gotta do is, the moment you summon the haste version of the Doppelganger, before he's even fully formed, like while he's still a blur, you immediately use Rising Star, which is right plus holding the attack button. Because if you wait for the Doppelganger to fully form, and then you use Rising Star, what's going to happen is the Doppelganger will react to your commands, and he will use Rising Star with you. So he'll use it in tandem, right? And you don't want that. So this is why you basically cancel the Doppelganger summon by using Rising Star. So immediately after summoning the Doppelganger, while he's still a blur, you use Rising Star, which is right plus holding the attack button. And now, while you're using Rising Star, you keep mashing the attack button like 4 to 5 to 6 times. And after Rising Star, you press the attack button twice to use the first 2 hits of aerial rave with the Yamato. This is included in that mash. So the way this works is you press right and you hold the attack button to use Rising Star, and while you're using Rising Star, you mash the attack button like 4 or 5 or 6 times. In this scenario, it was 5 times. And this will cause the Doppelganger to use the first 4 hits of Yamato Combo C, and Vergil to use the first 2 hits of Aerial Rave with the Yamato. So those 2 hits of Aerial Rave with the Yamato in the air, they are included in the mash, as you can see on the screen. So immediately after using Rising Star, you just mash the attack button like 5 times. 4 or 5 or 6 times. I don't really count the amount of times I press the attack button, or well, in my case, the left mouse button, as you can see. But now that I'm analyzing all these examples frame by frame, I can see that after using Rising Star, I usually mash the attack button, or well, the left mouse button, I mash it 5 times. That is the standard for this combo. You can do it 4 times, you can do it 6 times, it really doesn't matter. So why is that? Why do you mash the attack button while using Rising Star? Like I said, it's so that the Doppelganger can use the first 4 hits of Yamato Combo C. As you guys already know, Yamato Combo C is you press the attack button 4 times, or 5 times, or 6 times, it really doesn't matter. So you mash the attack button 4 to 5 to 6 times, and then you make a pause. And after this pause, you just mash the attack button, right? So that's what you want the Doppelganger to do. You want the Doppelganger to use the first 4 hits of Yamato Combo C. And the way to do that is by mashing the attack button 4 to 5 times. You know, it's really not strict because Yamato Combo C is, you know, you use the 4 hits, like you use 4 hits with the Yamato, like 4 slashes, but you can press the attack button 4 times, or 5 times, or 6 times, or as you can see here, even 8 times. So there are instances where you can mash the attack button like 8 times before making the pause. It's not about how many times you mash, it's about how fast you mash. It really doesn't matter. So, again, let's just recap this whole thing. You use Rising Star, right plus holding the attack button, and you mash the attack button about 5 times, 4 or 5 times. This will cause the Doppelganger to use the first 4 hits of Yamato Combo C, and it will also cause Vergil to use the first 2 hits of Aerial Rave with the Yamato. That's very important. You gotta use these 2 hits with Aerial Rave after Rising Star. Alright, and at this point, you make a pause, because this pause is required for Yamato Combo C. As you guys already know, before that slash barrage, you need to make a pause. So you gotta make sure that the Doppelganger does the first 4 hits of Yamato Combo C, and then you need a pause. So, now, after you've done the first 2 hits of Aerial Rave with the Yamato, you switch to the Mirage Edge and you use Helm Breaker, which is just pressing the attack button once. But now, you immediately, after doing this, you immediately jump, you enemy step, and you press right plus attack button to use Air Stinger, because when you're on the left side, in the air, with the Mirage Edge, using Air Stinger is right plus attack button. So Vergil needs to immediately use Air Stinger after Helm Breaker. So attack button, jump to enemy step, right plus attack button. But that's not all. While using Air Stinger, which is right plus attack button, you gotta mash the attack button like a maniac, non-stop. And this is so that the Doppelganger can keep using the Combo C barrage. The longer you mash, the longer the Doppelganger will keep using the barrage. So, right plus attack button to use Air Stinger, so, you know, that's it, and you mash the attack button like a maniac, and you don't stop mashing it. At this point, you also release the lock-on, in my case shift, so you let go of the lock-on, you switch to Beowulf, and you press right plus attack button, alright, to use this reverse starfall. And even during this, you keep mashing the attack button. Now, I know this sounds intimidating, but it really isn't. This is why I encourage you to practice this part over and over and over again until you've gotten it right. It's really not that difficult. It's just that you need to memorize a lot of things. When to switch to Beowulf, when to switch to the Yamato, Mirage Edge, all that stuff. So why do you need to let go of the lock-on? It's very simple. Starfall with Beowulf is locking on and pressing the attack button, right? And Vergil will use Starfall. He will hit the enemy. However, in this case, you don't want Vergil to hit the enemy. You want Vergil to go in the opposite direction. You want him to be farther away from the enemy. And the way to do that is you let go of the lock-on and you press right plus attack button to use this reverse starfall. Of course, that's only if the enemy is to your left. So in this case, the enemy is on the left side, and you gotta let go of the lock-on and you press right plus attack button, because right is the opposite side. You know what I mean? This is honestly very simple. There's really not a lot to talk about. So if you don't let go of the lock-on, like if you accidentally lock on, what's going to happen is Vergil will go back to the enemy and he will hit them. This is why it's so pivotal that you let go of the lock-on and you press right plus attack button to steer the starfall in the opposite direction. It's a reverse starfall. Okay. And, at this point, the Doppelganger will finish Yamato Combo C. He will finish the barrage. At this point, when you hit the ground with Starfall, you switch to the Yamato, and when the Doppelganger blows the enemy towards you with Yamato Combo C, you simply use Void Slash to trap the enemy. So you press back plus forward plus attack button, and you trap the enemy with Void Slash. And now you immediately deactivate the Doppelganger. Alright? And that is the end of the first part of this combo. This is definitely the hardest part of the combo because the second half is a breeze. And there are only like 3 mistakes you can make during the second part of the combo. This part of the combo, the first one, isn't incredibly difficult. It's not difficult at all, but it is inconsistent. I will admit, at least for me, it was incredibly inconsistent for a variety of reasons. But if you really think about it, in theory, this should be very simple. So you just summon the haste version of the Doppelganger. Before he's fully formed, you use Rising Star. While using Rising Star, you mash the attack button 4 to 5 times. This causes the Doppelganger to use the first 4 hits of Yamato Combo C, and Vergil to use the first 2 hits of Aerial Rave with the Yamato. Now you make this pause, right? You gotta make sure to make that pause. And during this pause, you just switch to the Mirage Edge, you use Helmbreaker, you enemy step, you use Air Stinger, you keep mashing, you let go of the lock-on, you switch to Beowulf, and you press right plus attack button, and you keep mashing. All throughout this whole process, you keep mashing. During Air Stinger and after it, during the reverse Starfall and after it, you keep mashing the attack button. If you don't mash the attack button long enough, what's going to happen is the Doppelganger will end Yamato Combo C way too early, before you even hit the ground. This has happened on multiple occasions, as you can see here. So this is why it's so important to mash the attack button. Okay, now we got the second part of the combo. So, after using Void Slash and trapping the enemy, you deactivate the Doppelganger, and now, after deactivating the Doppelganger, you immediately summon him again. The haste version of the Doppelganger, the one who is in sync with you and mimics all your commands immediately. And just like before, the moment you summon him, while he's still a blur, you do the exact same thing. You use Rising Star. If you wait for the Doppelganger to form, he will use Rising Star with you. He will react to your commands, and you don't want that. So make sure to use Rising Star, so right plus holding the attack button, before the Doppelganger is fully formed, while he's still a blur. Alright? And now, after using Rising Star, you press right plus attack button, okay? And this will cause the Doppelganger to use Rapid Slash. And why is that? This is because the Doppelganger is on the ground, on the left side. When you press right plus attack button on the left side, on the ground, with the Yamato equipped, that's Rapid Slash. And Vergil's Doppelganger reacts to your commands. He can only use the Yamato. He's on the left side and he's on the ground. So when you press right plus attack button, or in my case D plus left mouse button, he will use Rapid Slash. Alright? So after you've done Rising Star and after you've pressed right plus attack button to cause the Doppelganger to use Rapid Slash, now you press left plus attack button to use aerial cleave with the Yamato. This will pin the enemy to the ground, and it will also cause the Doppelganger to use Rapid Slash again. So why is that? Well, when you're on the left side, in midair, with the Yamato, pressing left plus attack button is aerial cleave, so Vergil will use aerial cleave. However, the Doppelganger is now on the right side, and he's on the ground with the Yamato. So when you press left plus attack button to use aerial cleave, he will react to those commands, and he will use Rapid Slash, because when you're on the right side, on the ground with the Yamato, left plus attack button is Rapid Slash, alright? So, anyway, immediately after using aerial cleave and falling to the ground, you use trig down to gain some distance. At this point, you switch to the Mirage Edge and you use drive, which is left plus right plus attack button, or in my case, A plus D plus left mouse button. This will cause Vergil to use drive and the Doppelganger to use Void Slash. Now, why is that? Well, if you're on the left side on the ground with the Mirage Edge, pressing left plus right plus attack button, or A plus D plus left mouse button in my case, is drive. However, if you're on the left side on the ground with the Yamato, and you press left plus right plus attack button, that is Void Slash. The Doppelganger reacts to your commands, but he can only use the Yamato. He cannot use the Mirage Edge, and he cannot use Beowulf. So when you press left plus right plus attack button, Vergil, who has the Mirage Edge equipped, will use drive, but the Doppelganger will use Void Slash. Alright? You got that? Cool. After using drive, you immediately switch to the Yamato and you use Rapid Slash, which is right plus attack button. And immediately after using Rapid Slash, you once again switch back to the Mirage Edge very fast and you use Stinger, which is left plus attack button. This will cause Vergil to hit the enemy with Stinger, blowing them away directly onto the Void Slash that the Doppelganger made. And when the Void Slash explodes, because, you know, the way Void Slash works is you catch the enemy with it, right? And then when you sheath your sword, the Void Slash explodes. Like, this click can actually catch the enemy, which was the case in the Void combo, for example. So the explosion itself can catch the enemy, which is exactly what happens here. By the time Vergil has, blown the enemy away with Stinger into the Void Slash, the Doppelganger will have already finished sheathing his sword, and this will cause the Void Slash to explode, trapping the enemy in the air. So now that the enemy has been prevented from falling to the ground by that Void Slash explosion, what you want to do is you press right and you hold the attack button. This will cause Vergil to use upper slash 2 and the Doppelganger to use Rising Star. So why is that? Vergil is on the right side on the ground with the Yamato. When you're on the right side on the ground with the Yamato, pressing right and holding the attack button is upper slash 2, which will launch Vergil into the air alongside the enemy. However, the Doppelganger is on the left side on the ground with the Yamato. And when you press right and you hold the attack button, when you're on the left side on the ground with the Yamato, that is Rising Star. So Vergil will end up using upper slash 2, and the Doppelganger will end up using Rising Star because he will react to you pressing right and holding the attack button. It's just that they're on the opposite sides, alright? So this will cause the Doppelganger to launch the enemy into the air with Rising Star, and it will also cause Vergil to be airborne. At this point, you press the attack button twice to use the first 2 hits of Aerial Rave 2 with the Yamato. So both Vergil and the Doppelganger will use the first 2 hits of Aerial Rave 2 with the Yamato. After these first 2 hits, you immediately use Trig down to descend to the ground. You make a slight pause, like a short pause, because this pause is required for Aerial Rave 2. And now you use Yamato Combo B. So you press the attack button twice while on the ground, so 1, 2. Now you make a slight pause, which is required for the rest of Yamato Combo B. And now, after this pause, you just continue mashing like a maniac. And let me explain, because this, I kind of went over this very fast. As you guys already know, Aerial Rave 2 with the Yamato is you press the attack button twice, so attack button, and you make a pause, and after this pause, you continue mashing the attack button like a maniac, alright? If you don't make that pause after the second hit, you'll end up using Aerial Rave 1, which is just mashing the attack button in the air like a maniac. This is why it's required to use a pause, like make a pause after the first 2 hits of Aerial Rave 2 with the Yamato. So you use the first 2 hits, both the Doppelganger and Vergil will use them, and then you use Trig down and you make a short pause. This is very important. And now, after this short pause, make sure it's not too long, you just use Yamato Combo B. That's all you gotta do. Now, Yamato Combo B, or, well, SDT Yamato Combo B is attack button, pause, and then you just keep mashing the attack button. So, it's the same as with Aerial Rave 2. It's just pressing the attack button twice, then making a short pause, and then you just continue mashing like a maniac. That is how Yamato Combo B works in this case, or SDT Yamato Combo B. So, again, after using Rising Star and /2, after pressing right plus holding the attack button, you use the first 2 hits of Aerial Rave 2. So you press attack button. Now you make a slight pause and you use Trig down. And now you use Yamato Combo B, which is attack button, pause, and then you just continue mashing the attack button like a maniac. This will cause the Doppelganger to use the rest of Aerial Rave 2, and eventually he will, pin the enemy to the ground, and now you deactivate the Doppelganger immediately after he's done with Aerial Rave 2, you deactivate him, and now Vergil will use the last hit of Sin Double Trigger Yamato Combo B to slash the enemy with this flip slash. I don't really know what to call it. Now, what I recommend here is while mashing the attack button, while using Yamato Combo B, you might want to start holding the attack button during this last hit. I didn't do this in the original combo, but I think it looks kind of cool. So you just hold the attack button, you just keep holding it, and now these 5 or 6 Mirage Blades will embed themselves into the enemy, right? And when Vergil sheathes his sword, these Mirage Blades will launch the enemy into the air. At this point, the moment Vergil sheathes his sword, while you're holding the attack button, you release it, and this will cause Vergil to use a perfect Judgment Cut. After this, all you gotta do is use Judgment Cut End, which is, in my case, forward plus Trig button plus attack button, and you also use the Blistering Blades to make sure the enemy doesn't fall to the ground while you're charging up Judgment Cut End. And Blistering Blades, in my case, are forward plus Mirage Blade button, or W plus right mouse button. At this point, Vergil will use Judgment Cut End, and he will basically finish the enemy off, and that is the end of the Eclipse combo. Now, the reason why these 6 Mirage Blades will embed themselves into the enemy and launch them into the air after the last hit of Yamato Combo B is simply because that's how Yamato Combo B works, especially in SDT. So after the last slash this crescent slash this flip slash whatever you want to call it. The moment Vergil sheathes his sword, after he's done with Yamato Combo B, these 6 Mirage Blades will embed themselves into the enemy, and they will launch the enemy into the air when you sheathe your sword. So that's basically how it works. And now let's talk about the most frequent issues you can encounter while attempting this combo, and believe me, there are quite a few of them. So here you can see how I ended up using Rising Star too late, or rather, I waited for the Doppelganger to form fully before using Rising Star. So, like I said, it's paramount that you use Rising Star before the Doppelganger is fully formed, while he's still a blur. Otherwise, this will happen. The Doppelganger and Vergil will use Rising Star at the same time. So that's the first thing that can happen. And the second mistake is arguably the most frequent mistake you can encounter during this combo. And I've lost count of how many times this happened to me, and I have no explanation for it. So, you know how you're supposed to use Rising Star and then use the first 2 hits of Aerial Rave 2? And after these 2 hits, you switch the Mirage Edge and you use Helmbreaker, and you enemy step this Helmbreaker into Air Stinger. So you basically switch the Mirage Edge and you press the attack button, which is, Helmbreaker, and then you jump, you enemy step to cancel this Helmbreaker. You gotta use enemy step, right? That's what I keep talking about. Well, in all of these instances, I cannot enemy step. It is completely impossible for me to enemy step, and as you can see, in every single one of these instances, I press jump. Space is jump for me, so I press space to jump, and as you can see, in all of these instances, I press space, I jump, I enemy step, but I end up using Helmbreaker fully, and I fall to the ground instead of jump canceling it. I just cannot jump cancel Helmbreaker. Now, the reason this happens is very clear to me because I can see it. So, this happens when Vergil is not close enough to the enemy, because enemy step only works if Vergil and the enemy are very close. If you're not close enough to the enemy, you won't be able to use enemy step. You won't be able to jump cancel your move. But that begs the question, why? So as you can see, in this example right here where the combo was successful and I was able to jump cancel Helmbreaker with no issues at all, you can see how Vergil is almost glued to the enemy. They are very close, there's no space between them, and I am easily able to jump cancel Helmbreaker. But in all of these examples where I failed, you can see how there's a gap between Vergil and the enemy. There's some distance between them, and this distance makes it impossible for me to enemy step to jump cancel Helmbreaker because I'm simply not close enough to the enemy, so I can't bounce off of them. I can't jump off of them. But why does that happen? Or rather, why does it work sometimes and sometimes it doesn't? I tried experimenting with the distance, with the concentration level, doing it without the Doppelganger, but no. I don't know what this depends on. The only theory I have here is that Rising Star sometimes has this hitbox that will cause some distance, that will create some distance between you and the enemy, but I cannot, for the life of me, explain how this works exactly. I cannot. But it really isn't a skill issue, at least I don't think it is, because I can see when there is distance between Vergil and the enemy. The moment I see, after using Rising Star, that there's distance between Vergil and the enemy, I just, stop the combo, because I know it won't work. So, I don't know how to explain this. I don't know what to tell you. I don't know why this happens, but maybe it's something that only happens to me. I really don't know, but this is by far probably the most agonizing mistake you can make during this combo, and it's not really a mistake. It's one of those typical DMC being DMC moments that I can't really explain to save my life. So, whatever. Now, don't get the wrong idea. The reason I'm not able to cancel Homebreaker into Air Stinger, like the reason I can't enemy step, isn't always because of the distance between Vergil and the enemy after Rising Star. Sometimes, Vergil and the enemy are relatively close to one another, and I'm still incapable of, jump canceling Helmbreakers. So it's not always a distance issue. It's kind of like 50-50. Like, as you can see in all these examples, Vergil and the enemy are relatively close to one another, and I am still unable to jump cancel Helmbreakers. So I have no idea what's causing this issue. Maybe it's a skill issue. Maybe it's because I'm doing it too fast or too, late. I don't really know. But, yeah. Now, here you can see another mistake. In this case, in all these examples that you're about to see, or that you're seeing right now on the screen, enemy step does work, and I am able to jump cancel Helmbreaker. However, instead of using Air Stinger, I end up using another Helmbreaker. So it's a double Helmbreaker. Now, as you can see, I am clearly pressing right plus attack button. And as you guys already know, right plus attack button, or in my case, D plus left mouse button, is Air Stinger. And Vergil should be able to use Air Stinger after enemy stepping or while jump canceling Helmbreaker. But he doesn't. He uses another Helmbreaker. So it's like the game doesn't even register me pressing right. It's like it only sees me pressing the attack button, but not right plus attack button. And as a result, Vergil ends up using Helmbreaker. Now, this is either a camera issue or me using Air Stinger, inputting it too fast, and the game isn't able to react. This wouldn't be the first time something like that happened, but I don't know, man. It's just very weird, and it happened quite a few times, and I don't know how to explain it, unfortunately. So, even if you're able to jump cancel Helmbreaker, there's a high chance, or well, maybe not too high, but there is a possibility of you not being able to follow it up with Air Stinger, but using Helmbreaker instead. So a double Helmbreaker. So again, this could be a skill issue. This could be me inputting Air Stinger way too fast and the game not reacting. It could be a camera issue, but I really couldn't tell you. So, whatever. Now, here you can see this one mistake where the Doppelganger ends up using Rapid Slash instead of simply using the combo C barrage. Now, why does this happen? I mean, when you use Air Stinger, that's right plus attack button, right? And Vergil is, in the air, on the left side with the Mirage Edge. So when you press the right plus attack button, that is Air Stinger. But the Doppelganger is on the left side, on the ground, with the Yamato. So when you press right plus attack button, what's going to happen is Vergil's Doppelganger will use Rapid Slash because he reacts to your commands and he has the Yamato equipped. So the Doppelganger basically reacts to your commands, and he ends up using Rapid Slash. This begs the question why this doesn't happen more frequently, because usually this doesn't happen. It happened 20 times, but it's not that frequent, and I don't know why. Maybe it's because the Doppelganger is too busy using the first 4 hits of Yamato Combo C, that, he's too busy using that to be able to react to you pressing right plus attack button. So, I know why this happens, but I really don't know why it doesn't happen more frequently, honestly. Because, right plus attack button, Air Stinger for Vergil, and Rapid Slash for the Doppelganger. So, yeah, this is one thing that can definitely happen, and I am not sure how to prevent that from happening. You'll find that for 90% of the issues that you can encounter in this combo, I don't have any explanation at all. I'm just making this video to help you guys understand that if you're experiencing these issues, you're not the only ones, and it definitely happened to me, and you shouldn't let that discourage you from just, doing the combo, right? Yeah, that's one thing can happen. Another thing that can definitely happen is the Doppelganger using Yamato combo A instead of Yamato combo C. Now, as you guys already know, Yamato combo A is just mashing the attack button like a maniac without making any pause. But Yamato combo C requires you to make a pause after the first 4 hits with the Yamato. So after you've mashed the attack button 4 or 5 times while using Rising Star, you make sure to make a pause. So after the first 2 hits of Aerial Rave with the Yamato, before jump canceling Helmbreaker and using Air Stinger, you make a slight pause. You like, it will take you time to switch the Mirage Edge and use Helmbreaker and then do all this. But before using Helmbreaker, before jump canceling it, make sure you make a slight pause, because this pause is required for the Doppelganger to use Yamato combo C. So, you mash the attack button 4 to 5 times, the Doppelganger uses the first 4 hits of Yamato combo C. And then you make a pause, and then you continue mashing. And this is like during Air Stinger and all of that. That is incredibly important. However, I have some really amazing news. I tested it out, and you can actually do the combo perfectly with Yamato combo A. So you don't even need Yamato combo C, because as you can see in all these like 4 or 5 examples, I ended up using Yamato combo A, like SDT Yamato combo A, and I was able to catch the enemy with Void Slash. The last hit of Yamato combo A blows the enemy away towards Vergil, and you're able to catch them with Void Slash. So rejoice, you don't have to make a pause at all. You can just use Yamato combo A, you can just mash like a maniac. It won't make a difference because you'll still be able to use the combo successfully. And I think that's just great. So no need to worry about this. If you're having trouble with timing, with mashing, with whatever, know that you can just mash like a maniac and use Yamato combo A instead of combo C. It's just that I feel like Yamato combo C looks a bit cooler in this particular combo. So, yeah. Now here you can see how I used Air Stinger way too fast. Like, I jump canceled it so fast that I ended up hitting the enemy. Like, I ended up grazing the enemy. Like, if you pay very close attention, you'll notice that I didn't even use Helmbreaker. The Helmbreaker wasn't what pinned the enemy to the ground. The enemy just naturally fell to the ground. I ended up canceling Helmbreaker so fast that Helmbreaker was only on the screen for like 3 frames before I used Air Stinger. So I jump canceled Helmbreaker, I enemy stepped way too fast, and when I used Air Stinger, I ended up, grazing the enemy. This happened, like, I don't know, 5 times maybe, but here you can see these 2 examples of that happening. So, make sure you're not too fast. This isn't a flex, bro, I promise. This is an issue that I already discussed, so if you're not mashing fast enough and long enough, during Air Stinger and during that reverse starfall, the Doppelganger will end up just finishing Yamato combo C before you even hit the ground with starfall. So the way Yamato combo C works is the longer you mash, the longer you'll do the slash barrage for. If you mash for 3 seconds, you'll do it for 3 seconds. Well, I don't think it's that long, but you get the point. But you can also stop it immediately after it appears. So, it really depends on how long you're mashing. And if you're not mashing fast enough and you're not mashing long enough, what's going to happen is the Doppelganger will end Yamato combo C before you even hit the ground. And obviously you won't be able to use Void Slash, you won't be able to use anything. This is why it's paramount that during Air Stinger, you keep mashing. So right plus attack button, and you mash the attack button. Then you let go of the lock-on, you switch to Beowulf, and you press right plus attack button, and you keep mashing the attack button. I know this sounds intimidating, but I know you guys can do it. It's really not that difficult. You know, practice makes perfect. So this is definitely something that can happen, and it happened quite a few times. And I think it happened because I wasn't mashing fast enough. It's not that I wasn't mashing long enough, it's that for some reason the game registered these micro gaps. Like, you can see that I'm pressing the attack button fast as hell. Like, there's no gap. I didn't stop, I didn't make any pause, but the game registered some pause, which is why the Doppelganger ended Yamato Combo C too early. So yeah, that's one thing can definitely happen. Okay, so moving on. Here you can see how the enemy falls to the ground before that Combo C barrage. Now, I don't really know what this depends on, to be honest, but I think upon closer inspection, it has to do with the distance between me and the enemy at the very start of the combo. So you can see that I'm very close to the enemy when starting the combo. So when I summon the Doppelganger, he kind of moves forward, and as a result, he's kind of not on the same level as the enemy. You know what I'm trying to say? I think this is a distance issue. So make sure that when you start the combo, you're not too close to the enemy. And obviously make sure you're not too far away from the enemy either. So this is a thing that can definitely happen. And like I said, I think it's a distance issue. Because in all of these examples, you'll notice how, you know, the Doppelganger is farther away from the enemy. He can't really hit them with the slash barrage of Yamato Combo C. So I think it's a distance issue, but it's not unlikely that it's not. In some of these instances, it doesn't appear to be the case. I don't know. Like, look, there are like 5 instances here, 5 examples. I really don't know. So I can only speculate. Now look at this. In all of these examples, I did the same thing I did previously. The previous mistake that I mentioned. Not the previous, but one of the previous mistakes that I mentioned. So I ended up jump canceling Helmbreaker way too fast. So Helmbreaker didn't even come out. I immediately ended up using Air Stinger, and I grazed the enemy. However, I didn't stop the combo there. I thought that this would somehow work out. So I tried doing the remainder of the combo, but what ended up happening was the Doppelganger did kind of hit the enemy with that slash barrage of Yamato Combo C, but the last hit of Yamato Combo C that's supposed to blow the enemy away towards Vergil didn't work because the enemy was too high up in the air. So the enemy's altitude didn't allow for this to happen. So this is why it's very important that you jump cancel Helmbreaker in time. Make sure it comes out. Make sure you're not too fast, because in all these examples you'll notice that I don't even use Helmbreaker. I do, but I immediately jump cancel it. I do it too early, too fast, and this is the result. You know, Yamato Combo C, like the slash barrage does hit the enemy. It keeps them airborne, but the final hit doesn't. It doesn't blow them away because the enemy is way too high up in the air. So, yeah. Now, here you can see how the Doppelganger ends up jumping instead of using, you know, Combo C. Like, he jumps and he uses the first hit of Aerial Rave. And I mean, I guess I understand why this happens. This happens because I enemy stepped. I jump canceled Helmbreaker. And in doing so, I ended up pressing jump, because pressing jump is how you jump cancel a move. That's how you enemy step. And the Doppelganger reacted to me pressing space. It reacted to me pressing jump, so he jumped as well. And he used the first hit of Yamato Aerial Rave because I pressed right plus attack button to use Air Stinger. Again, just like with that rapid slash issue, I gotta wonder why this doesn't happen more frequently. This is like, it only happened like maybe 5 times. Okay, probably more than that, but I don't really remember this mistake being that frequent. So I can explain what happens, but I don't understand why it doesn't happen more frequently, honestly. Alright, so this is really important. I was actually going to bring this up at the very start of the combo, but whatever. So, in this combo, throughout it, you gotta be in your Sin double trigger form. And there is a reason as to why this is so incredibly important. Because initially, when I was practicing this combo, I felt like it would be easier for some reason to be in my base form, but that will not work for one reason. And that reason is, well, you're seeing it on screen right now. So, Yamato Combo C in base form will have Vergil blow the enemy away with its last hit. So last hit of Yamato Combo C blows the enemy away. However, when you're in your Sin double trigger form, the last hit of Yamato Combo C blows the enemy away way farther. So the distance is much, much bigger, right? And this is required because when you're in your Sin DT, when the Doppelganger uses the last hit of Yamato Combo C, that last hit will blow the enemy very far away, and you will be able to catch them with Void Slash. However, if you're in your base form, the last hit of Yamato Combo C will blow the enemy away, but not very far, so you won't even be able to catch them with Void Slash. They won't even be halfway there. So this is why it's so important to be in your Sin DT for this combo. If you're not in your Sin DT, the combo simply won't work because the last hit of Yamato Combo C won't blow the enemy close enough to you, and you won't be able to use Void Slash. So, yeah. Here you can see the mistake that I already talked about. So I ended up locking on during that reverse starfall. So what ended up happening was Vergil ended up using starfall, like aiming it at the enemy. So it's very important that, you know, after Air Stinger, you switch to Beowulf, you let go of the lock-on, and you press right plus attack button, or in my case, D plus left mouse button. You want to use this reverse starfall. If you're locked on, it won't work. So you gotta let go of the lock-on and press right plus attack button. Otherwise, this thing will happen. Alright, so this is an issue that happened quite a few times. So what you're seeing here is instead of using the final hit of Yamato Combo C to blow the enemy away, the Doppelganger ends up using upper slash or upper slash tool. Now, why is that? Well, as you guys already know, I'm using Void Slash here. Void Slash is back plus forward plus attack button, which is exactly what I'm pressing here. I'm pressing S plus W plus left mouse button, and Vergil is using Void Slash. However, the Doppelganger, who is behind the enemy at this point, he's, you know, using Yamato Combo C, he reacts to me pressing forward plus attack button, not back, but forward, and he ends up using upper slash. Now, as you guys already know, when you are, like, when the enemy is in front of you, and you press back plus attack button, so S plus left mouse button with the Yamato, that is upper slash. But if you're behind the enemy like this, as is the case with the Doppelganger, pressing forward plus attack button is upper slash. So the commands change based on the camera, based on your position. So in all of these instances, it's like the Doppelganger registers me pressing forward plus attack button, and instead of using the last hit of Yamato Combo C, he ends up using upper slash. And I don't know why he only reacts to me pressing forward plus attack button and not back plus attack button. Like, why doesn't he use rapid slash? But as you can see, this is something can happen. And again, it's one of those things where I gotta ask, why doesn't this happen more frequently? The doppelganger reacts to your commands, so it only makes sense that he will use this, but I guess it's because he's too preoccupied using combo C, so 90% of the time this doesn't really happen. He doesn't react so immediately. And similarly, you have this issue. In these examples, you can see how Vergil ends up using Rapid Slash instead of Void Slash. Now, as you guys already know, Void Slash is back plus forward plus attack button when, you're facing the enemy straight, but Rapid Slash is only forward plus attack button, or in my case, W plus left mouse button. And you can clearly see me pressing back plus forward plus attack button, like I press S plus W plus left mouse button, but Vergil ends up using Rapid Slash. So it's like the game doesn't register me pressing back, it's like it only registers me pressing forward plus attack button. Now maybe this is because of the camera angle, maybe it's because I input all this way too fast. I really couldn't tell you, but it doesn't really matter. Luckily, this doesn't happen way too often. Now here you can see how I ended up using Kick 13 instead of Void Slash. And honestly, this is completely on me. I didn't switch to the Yamato. I ended up switching to Beowulf, or I just ended up not switching weapons at all. So immediately after using Starfall with Beowulf, I forgot to switch to the Yamato, that I ended up using Kick 13, because Kick 13 with Beowulf is back plus forward plus attack button. And with the Yamato, Void Slash is also back plus forward plus attack button. So the thing that happened here was I forgot to switch to the Yamato. I kept on using Beowulf. And the combo can actually work like this. As a matter of fact, V Gaming has a combo in which instead of Void Slash, he uses Kick 13. So this is something that can definitely happen, and this happens if you're not fast enough at weapon swapping. This is why I keep saying you got to build up that muscle memory. But even if you use Kick 13, you could just make a different combo for yourself, right? So it's not like it's the end of the world. And here we have yet another inexplicable mistake that reminds me of the Void combo. Because in the Void combo, this was the most annoying and most frequent mistake. Luckily, it's not nearly as frequent when it comes to this combo, but as you can see, Void Slash just misses entirely. So I do the combo perfectly, but when I use Void Slash, the enemy doesn't get, it doesn't make contact with the enemy. The enemy just goes right past it. So I don't know why this happens. I don't know how this happens. It happened quite a few times. I didn't record all of the instances, obviously, but it's definitely something can happen, and it's one of those things that I simply cannot explain. I guess it has to do with Vergil and the Doppelganger not being properly aligned, so assuming that Yamato combo C, assuming that the last hit blows the enemy straight, in a straight line, towards Vergil, maybe I wasn't in a straight line, maybe Starfall took me... I don't know, man. This isn't even a distance issue. It's just one of those really dumb, inexplicable DMC moments that... That's why I'm making this video. That's why I'm making this video, to just show you that this isn't a skill issue, it's just stupidity on the game's end. Now, this is one thing that can definitely happen. So here you can see how I do the combo perfectly, everything's perfect, and I end up catching the enemy with Void Slash. But what you see here is that the enemy is very close to Vergil. So when I deactivate the Doppelganger and I want to use the second part of the combo, me summoning the Doppelganger launches the enemy into the air. Because if you're too close to the enemy and you summon the Doppelganger summon will launch the enemy into the air. And this is game over, basically. So this happens if, for whatever reason, I don't know why and how, what this depends on, but sometimes when you catch the enemy, they will be too close to you. And when you summon the Doppelganger, they'll be launched in the air. So what you gotta do in this case is simply use Trig Down. So just use Trig down to gain some distance away from the enemy, and then summon the Doppelganger. Alright, so if you see that you're too close to the enemy after the first half of the combo, you take a step back, you use Trig down, and then you summon the haste version of the Doppelganger, alright? So that is incredibly important, but luckily this isn't very frequent. It doesn't happen very often, so yeah. And those are all the mistakes, or well, most of the mistakes you can encounter during the first part of the combo. And now we got the second half of the combo, and luckily there aren't many mistakes that you can make during this part. So the first thing that can end up happening is using the first hit of Yamato Combo A instead of Rapid Slash. And I have no idea what this depends on. I mean, I have some idea, but as you can see here, I end up pressing right plus attack button, so D plus left mouse button. That is supposed to be Rapid Slash, but instead, Vergil uses the first hit of Yamato Combo A. So it's like the game doesn't register me pressing right plus attack button, it only registers me pressing the attack button. And this is something you'll notice with a lot of the mistakes in this combo. Like the game not registering me pressing back plus forward plus attack button, it only registers forward plus attack button. Or it doesn't register me pressing right plus attack button for Air Stinger, it only registers me pressing the attack button. And it's the same thing here. It happens so many times throughout the combo that the game simply doesn't register one of your inputs even though you're clearly making them. Now, I personally think this has to do with the speed. I think that I input Rapid Slash way too fast. I think Drive with the Mirage Edge has these very long recovery frames. So when I switch the Yamato and I use Rapid Slash, I feel like I'm supposed to do it I'm supposed to wait a few frames before inputting Rapid Slash, and that is why this ends up happening. It happens so many times, and I'd say that this is by far the most frequent mistake you can encounter during the second part of this combo. So, Vergil simply uses one hit with the Yamato instead of using Rapid Slash, even though I am clearly inputting right plus attack button. So I think this has to do with the recovery frames of Drive, and you're supposed to just wait a little before using Rapid Slash. If not, then it's a camera issue. I have no other explanation. So this is the first mistake you can encounter during the second part of this combo. Now you might be wondering, but can I simply input Rapid Slash again after the first time didn't work? Like, why is this such an issue? And well, yeah, technically you can, in theory, but the combo won't work. So look at what happens when I input Rapid Slash again after it didn't work the first time. Like, I input Rapid Slash, I press right plus attack button, and Vergil does one hit of Yamato Combo A instead of using Rapid Slash. And then I immediately press right plus attack button again, I input Rapid Slash again, and this time Rapid Slash actually comes out. Cool. But now, when I try to use Stinger, and I try to basically blow the enemy away towards the Doppelganger, it won't work because that one misinput, or all that one, the time it takes for you to input Rapid Slash again, by that time the Doppelganger will have already finished sheathing his sword, and the Void Slash will have already exploded, so you won't be able to basically, catch the enemy. See what happens? Like, the first Rapid Slash fails, he does one hit with the Yamato, I input Rapid Slash again, it comes out, I use Stinger, but what happens is, I can't catch the enemy with Void Slash, because the explosion happens before I can, blow the enemy away towards the Doppelganger. So the moment you see that rapid slash failed. Like the moment Vergil does one hit of Yamato combo A instead of rapid slash, don't even bother trying to input rapid slash again, because even though rapid slash will probably work the second time you input it, the combo itself won't, because that 1 second it takes for you to, you know, re-input rapid slash, it will just make a mess out of things. So yeah. The second mistake that you can encounter is I use Rapid Slash and Stinger way too slow. Well, I don't use them fast enough, especially Stinger. So what ends up happening is the Void Slash explodes before the enemy is caught by it. So like I said, the Doppelganger basically, when he sheathes his sword, the Void Slash will explode, and this is what's supposed to catch the enemy and prevent them from falling to the ground. But here you'll notice how I used Stinger way too late. I wasn't fast enough. I wasn't fast enough at weapon swapping, and, you know, I was just kind of slow. My mind was kind of slow. And I used Stinger, and I blew the enemy away towards the Doppelganger, but by that time, the Doppelganger was already done sheathing his sword, and Void Slash already exploded, so, you know, the enemy wasn't caught by this explosion, and they weren't kept airborne. So it's imperative that you do all this very fast. So you immediately use Rapid Slash, you immediately use Stinger, so you gotta be very fast. You switch the Mirage Edge, then you switch back to the Yamato, then it's imperative that you do all of this incredibly fast. You switch the Yamato after drive to use Rapid Slash, and then you immediately switch back to the Mirage Edge, and you immediately use Stinger. If you're not fast enough, the Doppelganger will have already finished Void Slash, he will have already sheathed his sword, and the explosion will have already happened, and the enemy will simply not be caught by it, and they'll fall to the ground, making the combo fail. So this part is all about speed. It's all about speed. You got to be very fast so that the Void Slash explosion can catch the enemy. Now here you can see this weird rising star reversal that I don't really know how to explain. I think I can try. So I think this is the opposite of the previous issue. So I think that I used Stinger way too fast here. So yeah, I think that can also happen. And the enemy's altitude was way too high. He was very high up in the air. So I used Stinger way too early, and the enemy did get caught by the Void Slash explosion, and they were prevented from falling to the ground, but now they were so high up in the air that when the Doppelganger ended up using Rising Star, he ended up using this reversal. So there was also the possibility of the Doppelganger using Rapid Slash instead of Rising Star and not making contact with the enemy at all because I was way too fast. So, this is one thing, you really gotta have a very good feeling for timing when it comes to DMC combos. There is such a thing as too fast. If you're too fast, things can fail. If you're too slow, things can definitely fail. So in that previous example, I took too long to switch back to the Mirage Edge and use Stinger, and because I was too slow, you know, I ended up blowing the enemy away, but the Doppelganger was already done with Void Slash, and the explosion didn't catch the enemy. But here, I was so fast that the enemy was so high up in the air that even though they did get caught by the Void Slash, it didn't really work because they were way too high up in the air, and the Doppelganger ended up using this reversal, so yeah. Okay, so here you can see another mistake that you can make during the second part of the combo, and I'm not gonna say it's really frequent, but honestly, I never really experienced that many mistakes during the second part of the combo that I don't really even, I can't even tell you if this is frequent or not. So, as you can see here, what ends up happening is, after the enemy is caught by the Void Slash explosion, right, I end up using upper slash 2, and the Doppelganger ends up using Rising Star, but you can see that the enemy is still too high up in the air. Not as high up as before, so the Doppelganger doesn't end up using that reversal, that reversed Rising Star. But you can see that the enemy is way higher up in the air than the doppelganger. They're not on the same altitude, and they should be. And as a result, when I use the first 2 hits of aerial rave with the Yamato, the first 2 hits don't even catch the enemy at all. As you can see, they don't catch the enemy. And what ends up happening is the enemy simply falls to the ground. So, this is something that can happen, and in this first instance, in this first example that I just showed you, I think this once again has to do with me using Stinger way too fast, and the enemy's altitude being way too high. So you can see that the enemy is way higher up in the air than the doppelganger, and the first 2 hits of aerial rave, instead of preventing the enemy from falling to the ground, they just don't make contact with the enemy at all. But that's in the first example. In the second example, it doesn't seem like, the enemy is that much higher in the air compared to the doppelganger. It's, don't get me wrong, his altitude is definitely higher than the doppelganger, but not as high as before, and the first 2 hits of aerial rave still miss, and the enemy ends up falling to the ground. So this time, I don't think this has anything to do with me using Stinger way too fast, and it's the same thing in this third example. As you can see, I don't use Stinger that fast, the enemy doesn't seem to be that high in the air, and yet the first 2 hits of aerial rave 2 once again make 0 contact with the enemy, and the enemy ends up falling to the ground. Now, I guess there is a way to circumvent this or prevent it from happening by throwing a Mirage Blade at the enemy to keep them airborne. But I don't think this is a definitive solution, and I still think the enemy will end up falling to the ground eventually during the roulette spin part of Aerial Rave 2. But this definitely does seem to be an altitude issue. Like, the enemy is way too high up in the air when they're caught by that void slash explosion, and as a result, their altitude is way higher than the doppelganger. One other thing that comes to mind is maybe using the first 2 hits of aerial rave later, like waiting for the enemy to lose some altitude, and then when they're on the same altitude, on the same level as the doppelganger, then you press the attack button twice to use the first 2 hits of aerial rave. I don't know, though, because I never tried it, but it does seem like something you could end up doing. Like I said, I have no idea, but this is definitely something that can happen, and partially it has to do with you using Stinger way too fast, but even if you don't, it's definitely an altitude issue with the enemy. Here you can see how I ended up using Yamato Combo A instead of Yamato Combo B. Everything in the combo was going perfectly well, but I just had to screw it up at the very end by using Yamato Combo A. How incredibly cool, I forgot to make a pause. And here you can see how I ended up using Yamato Combo C instead of Yamato Combo B. So once again, I used everything, I did everything perfectly, but it simply didn't work. I didn't make the right pause. I just completely spaced out. I completely zoned out. I wasn't mentally there, and I guess I was overwhelmed, and I ended up using Yamato Combo C instead of Yamato Combo B. This is a skill issue, really. This is not a skill issue, it's just me being brain dead, alright? And here you can see, oh my god, I will never let this go. I was actually going to upload this combo that you're seeing right now on the screen, but as you can see, I ended up using Beast Uppercut instead of upper/2. Because I forgot to switch to the Yamato, instead I switched to Beowulf. This is why it's so important to have muscle memory and to build muscle memory by practicing every combo before you start recording. Don't make the same mistake I did. But by the way, this actually happened later. Like, I already built up the muscle memory, so that makes it even worse, makes it even more egregious. So yeah, I ended up using Beast Uppercut instead of upper/2. And I think that's about all I can say regarding the mistakes you can make during the first and the second part of this combo. The second part of the combo, the second half, is definitely significantly easier than the first one. But I would say that both of them are equally as inconsistent. Well, not really. They're not equally inconsistent because the first one definitely has way more inconsistencies. Like 85% of the mistakes you can make in this combo all pertain to the first half. Now, you know how in the original combo, I start the combo by using upper slash 1, then using a perfect judgment cut, then void slash, then trick down. And that's how I did it in the OG combo, but I told you how there's really no need to use that, and how you can simply start the combo, by summoning the Doppelganger and using Rising Star, and how I would actually advise you to do that, because doing it the original way causes a lot of issues, and I feel like it's only fair that I bring these issues up. And, because these issues are the reason why you shouldn't really use upper slash to start the combo. So the first issue you can encounter is when you use upper slash 1 and you're supposed to use that perfect judgment cut, you hold the attack button too long before releasing it. And what ends up happening when you release the attack button after holding it for too long is Vergil will end up using a regular judgment cut instead of a perfect judgment cut. So that's what happens when you hold the attack button for too long before releasing it. But conversely, you can also end up not holding the attack button long enough, and then when you release it, what's going to happen is Vergil won't even use a judgment cut at all. Like, not a regular one, not a perfect one, nothing. So this is the first issue. Like, these two are the first two issues you can experience if you try to use the upper slash method. But there are other things to look out for. Namely, using void slash too early. So after you've done this perfect judgment cut, you're supposed to wait a little bit before inputting void slash. Otherwise, this will happen. So what this is basically me inputting void slash too early and failing to catch the enemy. So the enemy basically falls to the ground, and they don't even get caught by the void slash. So this is something can definitely happen. You need to have perfect timing. You can't be too early or too late. But honestly, these three issues that I just mentioned aren't really that annoying. There are other issues that are way more, annoying. So the first thing that I really can't stand with, with this method is using rapid slash instead of rising star. So let's say you manage to catch the enemy with void slash, but now they're too high up on the void slash. So when you try to use rising star, which is right plus holding the attack button, Vergil ends up going right underneath the enemy and uses rapid slash instead. Now, as you guys already know, rapid slash is right plus attack button. Rising star is right plus holding the attack button. However, rising star only activates upon contact with the enemy. If the enemy is too high up in the air, I won't be able to make contact with them. So even though I'm holding right and, I'm pressing right and holding the attack button, I'm trying to use Rising Star, Vergil ends up using Rapid Slash because he can't make contact with the enemy because the enemy is too high up on the Void Slash. And I think the reason this happened was because I used Void Slash way too early. Not as early as before, like I did manage to catch the enemy, but it was still too early. So this is basically an altitude issue with the enemy. And finally, we have this incredibly annoying issue, and I would say this is by far the most, this is one of the most frequent issues you can, encounter in this combo, and it completely disappears if you don't opt for this method. If you just skip this first setup entirely, this whole thing with upper slash and void slash and all that. So, we have this Rising Star reversal. So just like the previous example, This is an altitude issue. The enemy is too high up on the Void Slash, right? And when I try to use Rising Star, I do make contact with the enemy, but since the enemy is way too high up on the Void Slash, I barely make contact with them, so it ends up, I end up using this reversal. I really don't know how to explain it. So if you use the Void Slash, if you input it way too early, what's going to happen is you'll experience issue number 1, where you just fail to catch the enemy altogether, and the enemy falls to the ground before you can catch them with Void Slash. So that's what happens if you do it mega early. If you use it slightly less early, you're going to experience issue number 2, where you end up using Rapid Slash instead of Rising Star, because even though you manage to catch the enemy with Void Slash, they are so high up on the Void Slash, they're so high up in the air that you can't even make contact with them, and you can't use Rising Star. And this is issue number 3, where you still input Void Slash early, but not as early as before, and the enemy is still way too high up on the Void Slash, except this time you can make contact with them, and you can use Rising Star, but only barely. And this results in what you're seeing here right now, basically. So this kept happening, and it just kept happening, and it was so incredibly tedious. So these are the main 5 issues, I think, that led me to go, I really don't think I should use this method. Like, we don't need this setup at all. Like I said, this combo, despite everything that I just said, it's not that difficult. It's just there's so many random things, so many random inexplicable factors that can cause you to fail. And like I said, I just did my best to try and explain most of them, but even for the ones that I was able to explain, I still can't explain why they happen exactly, or why they don't happen more frequently. And needless to say, don't let any of these issues deter you from actually attempting the combo yourself, because, there are so many potential issues you can encounter in any combo, but just because there are potential issues doesn't mean that you shouldn't try. And this combo really isn't that difficult. Believe me, this is coming from someone who has replicated combos like the Torment combo or the Hell combo, so yeah, don't sweat it. But yeah, that's really about it. I sincerely hope that this is the last combo I'll analyze. You guys really gotta stop coming up with incredibly cool and creative doppelganger setups, otherwise I'll never be able to retire. And I don't really have enough energy to be making these combo analysis videos. Like, I'm really, like, I did this reluctantly, against my will, only because of my OCD and because some people asked me to. I'll leave you with this compilation of perfect attempts, some of the perfect attempts that I recorded, just to drive home the point that this combo is, in fact, possible to do, and that I was, in fact, able to do it multiple times. Of course, I'm only doing this for the first part of the combo, not the second one, because the second one is way more consistent. But yeah, I'm just leaving you with this compilation of perfect first halves of the combo. So yeah, see ya, peace out, and have a good one.
Get